Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. Well, 2025 is definitely the year where I'm experimenting with so many new card making techniques and challenging myself with a new technique almost every other day. Today's card project is a very simple ink blended background, but with a slight twist. We will be using charcoal pencil to add some shading to our blended stencil background. Well, before we get started, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel and hit on the bell icon so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Let us first take a look at the stencil that we will be using today. This is the Flowing Drop stencil by Altenew. I absolutely love this stencil and I have used it in so many different projects. It creates a really beautiful background. Now here I have an A2 size card panel. I place both my panel and my stencil onto my Altenew sticky mat, which will hold both of these in place while we do some fun ink blending. Now I had to go with my favorite color combination here. I have this very beautiful pink and peachy orange combination ready. I'll be using the Simon Says Stamp Positively Saturated inks in the shade Sweets, Taffy, Blush and Grapefruit. Well, nothing fancy with the ink blending here. I started with blush and sweet towards the center of this card panel. Well, I did cover the entire card panel with this, but just to darken up the edges, I have taffy and grapefruit only on the edges of this card panel. You could definitely use any color combination of your choice. I would also love to try a rainbow color pattern on this card panel, or you could well stick to just one color and create an ombre effect. I also think teals and blues would be an absolute beautiful choice here. Now here you'll see me adding grapefruit just on the edges of the orange shade, and I have taffy to darken up the edges towards the pink shade. This definitely is my favorite part, where I get to peel off the stencil and take a look at how beautiful this design looks. Also, isn't this just an amazing color combination? Now, here's a quick tip. Whenever you peel out your card panel from any kind of sticky mat, I would suggest bending the mat and pulling out the cardstock instead of trying to pull the cardstock from the mat. This ensures that your cardstock does not bend. Now let's get to the fun part. We will be doing some shading on our ink blending background using charcoal pencil. I'm using a soft charcoal pencil here. I also have a sandpaper block and a blending stump. The sandpaper block will help sharpen my pencil. Well, it does not create like a very pointy pencil tip, but it will smoothen out the point. Also, I have a blending stump which is used to blend or smudge and soften the charcoal pencil drawings, thereby creating a very smooth transition and a more realistic look on our card project. Now, this is something where we get a little bit technical. To begin with the shading process, we have to first decide where our light source is coming from. This is just like creating a shadow in the opposite direction to where the light comes from. So let's say the light comes from the bottom of our panel, which means that the light hits all of the upper parts of the little drops, while the back side of the drop, which is the lower side of the drop, does not get any light. And that's where our shadow will fall. So we can start adding little shadows there. Now, this is something I learned while I was coloring each of those drops. When you use charcoal for coloring, one of the key techniques to master is smudging, which adds depth and dimension to your artwork. To create a more realistic, shadowy look, you can smudge the charcoal with a blending stump, which blends and softens the markers, giving it a more smooth and natural look. To further enhance the shadows, you can also use a rolled piece of paper or even your finger to carefully smudge and blend the charcoal, allowing the shades to mix and flow together seamlessly, creating a beautiful shadow effect. But since these drops were very small and intricate, I didn't end up using my finger. I just used the stump to blend all the charcoal. Now we are using a stenciled design here, but you can also use your smudging technique to create delicate texture of any floral images or other intricate details, adding a sense of realism and depth to your design. However, charcoal is a very messy medium, so it smudges easily. You must be careful not to accidentally wipe away your hand at work and disturb all those delicate little details that you've created. I have my eraser handy just to make sure I can quickly erase off any of those smudges. When working with charcoal pencil, it's important to know that soft pencils, which have least binder, produce the darker images as compared to the harder pencils. Now, here I'm using a soft pencil. Now, I wanted a more darker, detailed image. That's the reason I use the softer pencil. Well, I've also read that when instead of sharpening your charcoal pencil, it is better to use a knife to sharpen it. That gives it a more finer and controlled point and prevents breakage. Now, the tips on these charcoal pencils are really soft, and with the sharpener, it did break a lot. One by one, I added shading to each of these drops, keeping in mind that my shadows are all in one direction and not in the opposite side. Well, I must say, I did take a long time to do my first couple of drops, but once I got the hang of it, it was really easy and fun. Another very important thing that I would like to mention here is that if you're someone who does not like squeaky sounds or maybe accidentally scratching your nails on the chalkboard sound, this technique is not for you. As you blend the pencil mark with the paper stump, it creates a squeaky noise, which can be a little intimidating for some. I love how gorgeous this panel turned out. Well, rather than having just a single dimension ink blended background, we have now created a beautiful, colorful background with so much shadow, depth, and dimension. This is definitely a technique that I would want to try with, I think, almost all of my stencils now. Now that our background is ready, all we need to do is add a sentiment and we can call this card done. Now I'm using the bold thanks die set by Altenew. I cut the word thanks using black cardstock, and for my shadow I have white cardstock. Now our background is so beautifully done, but well, it's a busy background. And I felt that my sentiment was kind of lost in all that depth and dimension. Easy way to highlight your focal point or your sentiment and pop them up on a busy background is by adding a strip of vellum. Vellum will not only tone down your busy background, but will also pop up your focal points or your sentiments that is placed on it. I got a strip of vellum which was slightly bigger than my sentiment and created a belly band for my background panel. I adhered my sentiment using some foam tape and added some Prism Positively Dazzling Gems by Simon Stamp, and we can call this card done. I love how beautiful this card has turned out, and this is a technique, well, I will definitely be trying and working more on, not just with stencils, but also with stamped and colored images too. Well, thank you for joining me today. I hope you had fun watching today's video and got inspired. All the supplies that I used to create this card project will be linked down in the description box below. Please note that all of those links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. I will also have links to my blog post, which will have additional information about this card project and the technique that is used. Well, thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe. Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. So, if you ask me what my favorite card making technique is, I would definitely say it's the blackout technique. I have used this in so many different projects to create beautiful, vibrant card fronts. Now, this technique takes embossing to a whole new level by utilizing the debossed side of an embossed panel. I think this is also one of the easiest way to create cards if you plan on mass producing cards with bold eye-catching focal points and a striking background. Well, before we take a look at the card project that I created today, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Well, I did create two cards for today's video, but I didn't realize my phone battery died at some point. So unfortunately, I don't have footage of how I colored the second butterfly card. However, the techniques I used for both the cards are exactly the same. For my first card, I'm using the Brilliant Budding Floral Embossing folder, which comes with a coordinating die to cut out one of those flowers. However, for this card, I'm sticking just with the embossing folder to create a beautiful textured background. Now, this embossing folder was part of the latest Rain or Shine release by Simon's Stamp. I love this floral image, and I have created a card before using this same technique, but in slightly different colors. Now, the card panel I'm using here is an 80-pound white cardstock. Before running the paper and the embossing folder sandwich through my die cutting machine, I like to mist the paper slightly with water. This step helps loosen the paper fibers and helps prevent any tearing or cracking, giving it a smoother and more durable result. Now, take a look at how beautiful that embossed panel is. Well, we will be using the debossed side of the image. I will be using my Spectrum Noir Triblend markers in this beautiful orange shade. Now, I love using these Triblend markers for these types of projects because these markers include the different shades of color in the same pen, which makes adding depth and shadow so much more easier. There's no need to search for matching shades in your collection. I added vibrant greens to the leaves and stems to balance the warm tones of my flowers. Now, with the blackout technique, I like to use my alcohol markers. Well, that is a personal choice, but you could definitely use watercolors or ink blending or even pencil colors to add colors to these focal point images. So basically, all you're doing is coloring into these debossed images. Well, at this point, it does look a little incomplete and not very precise to the point, but trust the process. Once you swipe your ink pad over this colored image to create that blackout look, you will see what exactly I'm talking about. Now I'm using simple greens, which I feel matched perfectly with that vibrant orange on our flowers. After coloring all those debossed image, now we can get to the fun part, that is creating our blackout effect. Now here if you'll see, the picture does look a little incomplete, but it will be absolutely gorgeous once we swipe our ink pad. To do this, I swiped my ink pad across the panel, ensuring that only the raised area of the embossing were covered. For this card, I'm using the Simon's Stamp Positively Saturated ink in the shade Woodsy, which is a rich dark brown that complemented perfectly with the orange tones on the flowers absolutely beautifully. Well, I prefer using darker shades of ink to swipe on my panel as I feel that gives a more vibrant look to our card front. Well, here I am very lightly swiping my ink pad over the paper because I love the wood grain like pattern that the swiped ink gives on our background panel. Now, if you want a more dense look, I would suggest swiping your ink pad with a little more force so that all of that ink is absorbed by the papers and no streaks are formed. That will give you a more plain and cleaner look. But if you want a more textured and pattern look, I would suggest swiping the ink pad very lightly and gently, just like I'm doing here. Also, I like to make sure that I'm swiping my ink pad in one direction only to give that beautiful wood grain look. But you could definitely do it the way you want. There is absolutely no right or wrong way to do this. Now, after you run your ink pad over the panel, you will notice there are some areas where you must have missed to color on the edges of those embossed images. That would be an easy fix. All you need to do is bring back the same exact colors and fill in the white areas to get a more seamless look. Now that our panel is ready, I like to give it a minute or two before the ink completely dries. Because as you saw that I swiped my ink pad a couple of times, so the paper is quite saturated and wet at this point of time. So I would let the color settle while we can go and work on our sentiment or any other embellishments that we wish to add on our card front. To complete the card, I die cut a simple sentiment from the Simon's Stamp Everyday Easy Sentiment strips, keeping it clean and elegant. Now, this sentiment sheet comes in a pack of four. Simon's Stamp also has coordinating dies to cut out all of these sentiment pieces all at once. So, if you're someone like me who's not a big fan of cutting out sentiment strips using your paper trimmer, I would definitely recommend this step. As a final touch, I added some gold hologram sequins from This Calls for Confetti to give the card a bit of sparkle and shine. I'm really happy with how gorgeous this panel turned out. The blackout effect with the vibrant colors and simple sentiment creates a striking design, and the sequins add just the right amount of glimmer. For card number two, I use the Fantasy Butterflies embossing folder, which also comes with the coordinating dies that we will be using later to complete the look. This embossing folder is perfect for creating an intricate butterfly filled background that adds so much texture and detail to your card design. I started by embossing with an A2 size cardstock panel with this gorgeous butterfly pattern, and the level of detail in this design is absolutely stunning, and I decided to go all in with some vibrant rainbow colors. Of course, you could easily use a single color palette if you are aiming for a more subtle look, but rainbow shades really bring out the butterflies to life. After finishing the coloring on the deboss side, I wanted to add a bit of depth and detail. I swiped the positively saturated ink in the shade charcoal across this embossed area. The dark ink creates a very whimsical blackish hue that really enhances the wings of the butterflies, giving them a beautiful and striking contrast against the vibrant colors. Take a look at the two panels that we created today. The first one features a very clean and simple and elegant floral pattern against a wood grain background, while the second showcases a stunning rainbow butterfly backdrop with glittery centers made using glitter cardstock from Your Paper Insider. I kept the sentiment on both these card fronts minimal as I wanted to highlight the backgrounds, designs, and colors. I mounted these panels onto white card bases, and now we can call these cards complete. I'm really happy with how easy these were to create and how vibrant and colorful they've turned out. Thank you again for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I really encourage you to give this technique a try yourself. Well, all the supplies that I used in today's video will be linked down in the description box below. All the links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe. Hello crafty friends and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm sharing a very clean and simple card design that is all about elegant layering and some subtle texture. The star of this project is a delicate layered die cut focal point which will bring a lot of dimension and interest to our layout. Well, before we get started, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel and hit on the bell icon so that you get notified every time I post a new video. For my focal point, I'll be using one of the layering dies from the Kaleidoscope Noble Suits Edge dies, which are a part of the Jack of All Trades collection by Spellbinders. Now, you could make multiple ornaments or dimensional card suits, motifs of either hearts, diamonds, spades, or clubs. You could either create a border or have a repetitive pattern for your background, or like I'm doing today, create a very clean and simple focal point. Now, this is also one of those die sets where I would use them to mass produce cards for multiple different occasions, and I could play with a number of different color cardstocks and create maybe a rainbow look, or like here I'm doing, I have an ombre look. I chose shades of reds and pinks for the layers to keep everything within the same color family, thereby giving my focal point an elegant and cohesive look. I trimmed each of the colored cardstock to coordinate with the individual dies, then ran them through my Spellbinders die cutting machine. Once I was done with the die cutting, I was absolutely amazed by how beautiful these die cuts look. They were absolutely stunning, and all those intricate details on these die cut pieces, they were truly eye catching. These die cuts are quite delicate, so I took my time gently popping out all those tiny little pieces. To build dimension and add interest, I carefully layered each of these pieces using my Barely Arts liquid glue. Well, for better control, especially with such an intricate design, I like to use my reverse tweezers by Cat Scrappiness. They make handling those little elements so much more easier. Well, I'd love to try this layering technique not just with ombre tones but also by mixing in some contrasting colors for a more bolder look. Well, I have been completely obsessed with pinks and orange color combination lately. I have created so many projects using those vibrant shades. Well, I would love to hear from you too. So drop your favorite color combinations in the comments below. Now that our focal point is ready, let's work on our background. For the background, I wanted to bring in a bit more texture to my card. So I reached out for a fun 3D embossing folder. Well, I absolutely love the texture this gives to my card front. At this point, if you want a really clean and simple look, all you could do is just place the focal point and the sentiment strip. But I decided to add some color to this card background. To add a soft touch of color without overwhelming the design, I lightly brushed just the lower portion of the panel with some leftover ink on my blending brush. Well, no need to reload it with fresh ink. We just need a very soft, lightest touch of ink on this card panel. This subtle detail added just the right hint of warmth to my card. Once my background was prepped, I adhered the layered heart die cut directly over the inked area. And for my sentiment, I used the letterpress strip that beautifully tied everything together and complemented with a focal point. Now here you'll see that I'm using my Barely Arts glue to adhere both these pieces, and I like to use my Simon's stamp T-square ruler to make sure that my sentiment strip is properly aligned. Just take a look at how beautiful this design turned out. I love the simplicity on this card front with the layered focal point, our embossed background, and the letterpress system. Well, even though this is such a clean and simple card, I love that all these elements are coming together. To complete the card, I added a few pink gems from the Positively Dazzling Gems in the pastel tone for that perfect finishing touch. A little sparkle to bring the whole design to life. I absolutely love how this card turned out. It's really beautiful, clean and simple, and that little hint of sparkle is all what this card needed. Well, that's a wrap for today. A short and sweet video featuring a very clean and simple card design. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed creating this card for you guys. All the supplies that I used to create this card will be linked down in the description box below. Please note that all of those links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe. Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm very excited to share today's project with you guys. I have created not one but two gorgeous card projects using just one die. Not only will I be highlighting one of my all-time favorite color combinations, that's pink and oranges, but there's also a fun bonus in store for you guys. Along with a very clean and simple design, I will be creating a playful shaker card with lots of sparkle and shine. This video will not only inspire you to create two cards using one product, but will also help you to use up all of your little die cut scraps as well. Well, before we get started, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel and hit on the bell icon so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Let us first take a look at the die that I will be using today to create our cards. This is the Butterfly Blossoms die set by Waffle Flowers. The set features some beautifully detailed butterflies and blooming flowers. The dies gives some intrinsic beautiful texture detail on the butterfly wings and petals of the flowers. We have three butterflies in this set with matching center body pieces and four flowers, again with coordinating centers. Now, this set does come with coordinating stencils, which will help in coloring these die cuts a lot more easier. Well, I'll be using only the butterflies for our cards today. I started by cutting out the butterflies onto the center of an A2 size white cardstock panel. The best thing I like about this die is that the butterflies are attached together, which makes it a lot more easier to position them, especially when we are creating a shaker card. The negative panel here is absolutely perfect for that. While those little die cut pieces can be easily placed anywhere around your card front to create a beautiful focal point. I will first start with a clean and simple card where I have my three die cut butterflies as the focal point of my card front on an embossed background. I started by placing these die cuts onto my Simon Stamp craft tacky mat, which will hold these butterflies in place while we do some ink blending. The colors that I chose for this card are beautiful shades of pinks and oranges, and well, I'm using my Simon Stamp positively saturated inks in the shade Sherbet, Pucker, Rose, and Sweets. And for my ink blending brushes, I'm using these mini ink blending brushes by Cat Scrappiness, which is absolutely perfect to get into these tiny little spaces or using with stencils with tiny gaps in them. I ink blended the oranges on the center of the butterflies, and towards the wings, I have my beautiful pinks. Cat Scrappiness has a variety of ink blending brushes ranging from hard bristles to ultra soft bristles. We have mini detailed blending brushes and half-inch stencil blending brushes. Well, I'll make sure that I list all of my favorites down in the description box below. Don't forget to check those out. Now, after I was done with the ink blending, I adhered the body of the butterflies, which I die cut using black cardstock on each of those butterflies using liquid glue. Now, I love the black. It complements perfectly with the orange and the pink. These butterflies look absolutely pretty in real life. Well, how could we possibly skip the shine and sparkle on these butterflies? Once I was done with all the adhering, I placed them into my splatter box ready to be misted with a shimmer spray to add the perfect touch of sparkle to all these focal point images. While the shimmer spray dries, let's move on to the background. For this card project, I've chosen the beautifully textured look using the woven embossing folder by Simon Stamp. I absolutely love the texture it adds. Now, even though initially I said that we'll be creating a very clean and simple card, well, we are adding a bit of an extra flair here. Along with the sparkle on our butterflies, I'll be adding some splatters on this embossed panel as well. I placed the panel into my splatter box and added gold, metallic, and black watercolor splatters to bring even more interest to our background. Once the watercolor splatters are dry, we can move on to adding the butterflies and our sentiment strip. I decided to give the butterflies a bit of dimension by popping them up with thin foam squares, only on the wings, not the center. This creates a lovely lifted effect that makes the wings stand out. For the sentiment, I'm using a letterpress piece that says sending you strength. I felt it paired perfectly with my butterflies. The sentiment is from the Always and Forever Sentiment strips, press plate, and die set by Spellbinders. I absolutely love using the Always and Forever Sentiment strip, press plate, and die set. It's incredibly versatile. It includes 16 different sentiments that work for a wide range of occasions. Plus, it comes with a coordinating die that cuts them out all at once, making it super convenient. You can have the whole set of sentiments ready to go. So, when it's time to finish your card, you just pick one and pop it on top of it. Now that all the elements for our card are ready, it's time to bring everything together on the card front. I added the butterflies first, arranging them in a way that left space for my sentiment. I placed the largest butterfly just below the sentiment with the medium and the smaller size ones just above it. This layout creates a nice visual balance on the card front. I finally adhered the finished panel onto an A2 size card base, and just like that, card number 1 is complete. Let's move on to card number 2, which will be a fun interactive shaker card. For this one, we will be using the negative panel left over from the die cutting the butterflies. As you can see, the die cut has created a beautiful window, perfect for turning this into a shaker card. Now, you could simply back it up with a colorful panel and leave it at that. But then it's been a while since I made an interactive card, so I figured this was a perfect opportunity. Plus, it's a great way to make use of the leftover die cut panel instead of letting it go to waste. Now, before adhering the acetate window onto this panel, I decided to add some black watercolor splatters to the front panel. I followed the direction of the butterflies and kept the splattering light for a very subtle effect. While that panel dries, we will then be working on the background that will show through the window. Now here I have a white cardstock panel that's slightly smaller than an A2 size card base, just the right size to fit behind my window. For this background, I'm using the same pinks and oranges to do some ink blending, making sure that there is a nice gradient and color transition that will shine through the butterfly cutouts beautifully. Now, the inks that I'm using here are again the same sherbet, pucker, rose, and sweets. Well, I did bring the window panel back a few times and placed it over the background just to make sure that none of that white cardstock shows through the butterfly openings. I blended the lighter shades of the pink and orange in the center and gradually transitioned to the darker tones towards the edge of the panel. I'm absolutely loving how that color transition looks behind the butterfly window. It turned out so beautiful. But let's be honest, what's one of my cards without a bit of shine and sparkle? So I had to bring back my splatter box. I'm bringing out my shimmer mist spray once again. This time I'm giving the background panel a generous spritz to really add that beautiful shine to the final card. Just take a closer look at that beautiful sparkle. Isn't it stunning? While my background panel was drying, I went ahead and stamped a small sentiment that says, "You got this." It's from the Graceful Flower stamp set by Simon Says Stamp. Now it's time to build our shaker window. I started by applying double-sided tape all around the back of this butterfly panel, and I then placed my acetate sheet over it. I prefer using double-sided tape here instead of liquid glue as it provides more stability and avoids any of that glue seeping out through the edges or through the window openings. Once the acetate window was secured in place, I added foam tape around the edges to give some dimension to my shaker window. This allows the shaker bits to move freely inside my window. Well, before adding the sequins, I used some embossing powder and using my flat paintbrush, I added the embossing powder along the edges of the foam tape. This will ensure that the sequins won't get stuck to the foam tape and can move around freely. I'm using the sparkling snow glitter sequin mix by Cat Scrappiness. Well, once I've added all of the sequin mixes, I will carefully peel away the release paper from the foam tape, making sure that the delicate sequins don't fall onto the tape and get stuck there. Once the release paper is removed, I can gently place my ink blended background panel onto this foam tape. I'll make sure that the background panel is firmly adhered onto this foam tape just to make sure that none of those sequin mixes come out of this window. Next, I adhere the window onto an A2 size card base. I'm really happy with how this turned out. A very clean and simple card front with an interactive shaker window, perfectly paired with a sweet little sentiment. Well, don't forget to add the black centers for the butterflies. I think they really add that extra pop of color to our window. Here's a look at both our finished cards. While both of them have a clean and simple design, each card offers something really unique. The first card features a beautifully textured background with sparkly butterflies and a letterpress sentiment strip, while the second has a shiny background with sparkling snow glitter, making it a fun interactive shaker card. Well, I hope you had fun watching today's video as much as I did creating these cards for you guys. Let me know in the comments below which one is your favorite. All the supplies that I used in today's video will be linked down in the description box below. Please note that all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe. Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I am really thrilled to be sharing a fun new release by Catherine Pooler in collaboration with Sizzix. This is the Up and Away release. This whimsical collection is packed with playful stamps, coordinating dies, dreamy stencils, and an intricately designed 3D embossing folder. From hot air balloons to charming kites, these products are perfect for bringing vintage skies to life and letting your creativity soar. In this video, I'll be walking you through all the fabulous products from the new release and sharing some of the cards that I created using them. Well, before we jump in, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. Here's a quick overview of the products included in the latest Up and Away release. As the name suggests, there's a strong sky inspired theme running through the collection. You'll find stamps and coordinating dies, many of which can also be used independently, so you're not limited to using them with the stamps. There are also beautiful layering stencils that create a dreamy cloud sky background. You can stick to the classic blue tones or get creative with a rainbow sky effect. The release also includes some fun birthday themed stamps and dies, along with a stunning embossing folder that adds gorgeous texture to your projects. Now, before we dive into each product in detail, let me take a minute to appreciate the packaging here. Every item, whether it's a stamp, die, stencil, or an embossing folder, comes in a thoughtfully designed box. Each box includes the product details, and when you open it, you'll find a very high quality sleeve that securely holds each of those items. These sleeves are durable and perfect for keeping your supplies safe and organized. The first set of products I'll be showcasing features some hot air balloons. Now, this includes a clear stamp set with coordinating dies as well as a standalone hot air balloon die. Now, let's start with the Up and Away clear stamp set, which includes 30 individual pieces. It features two charming hot air balloon designs, one which is heart shaped. The set also includes lovely selection of sentiments like happy birthday, thinking of you, and congratulations, making it perfect for a variety of different occasions. You'll also find a few clouds, a sweet little butterfly, and a sentiment banner, and some floral embellishments to complete your design. To make crafting even more easier, you can pair the stamp set with the Up and Away coordinating die set, which helps bring your projects to life with ease and precision. Now, all of those little die pieces come neatly packed inside the sleeve. While you can add a magnetic sheet if you prefer, I found that the sleeve is sturdy enough to securely hold even the tiniest dies. Once you're done, everything fits right back into the original box packaging for easy storage. Next up is the floating fancy die set, which includes 15 beautifully detailed pieces. This set features intricate hot air balloon elements that are perfect for a wide range of projects, whether you're making cards, scrapbook layouts, or even decorative home pieces. These dies can be used on their own or paired with coordinating stamps and stencils for an endless creative combination. Now let's take a look at few card projects that I created using these three products. The first is a very clean and simple card featuring the hot air balloon as a focal point. I used the Up and Away stamp set along with the coordinating die. I love how effortlessly the stamp set works. Just layer the different parts of the balloon and in your favorite colors, die cut it, and you're good to go. Take a look at that banner die floating absolutely perfectly from the balloon. For my second card, I used the floating fancy die to create a large eye-catching balloon focal point that nearly fills the card front. I added some floral accents and paired it with the happy birthday sentiment banner from the Up and Away stamp set to complete this look. For my background, I used a layering stencil, which I will be talking later in this video. For card number 3, I kept my design very simple, very minimal. I simply stamped the focal point image, which is the stunning heart shaped balloon, and let it shine. Don't miss the subtle sparkle in the background, which again is part of the stamp set. Also, the detail on that heart is absolutely stunning. Now, about the sentiments on this card, I will again talk about it more later in the video. Next up in our sky themed collection are some delightful kite inspired products. Starting with the Sky's the Limit stamp set, this 21-piece set is full of playful charm. It includes layering stamps that let you create three unique kite designs along with some sweet embellishments like hearts, bows, and strings to personalize each kite. The set also features three uplifting sentiments. We have Way to Go, Sky's the Limit, and You're Gonna Soar. And I have to say, I absolutely love the fonts on these sentiments. We also have some beautiful designs that you can add onto the layering of each of those kites. To take your projects even further, you can pair the stamp set with coordinating Sky's the Limit dies. Together, they make it easy to craft whimsical and beautiful designs that are perfect for celebrations, everyday moments, or even encouragement cards to lift someone's spirits. Just a quick note, these dies can be used on their own without the stamps, giving you an even more creative flexibility. Well, now let me show you a few projects I created using this set. For the first card, I went with a very clean and simple look. I stamped two kites in fresh green and teal color combination. It's a single layer card with both my focal point image and the sentiment stamped directly onto the card front. I love the layout on the card front. I also added some splatters to add some sparkle to this card front. In my second card, I used the die set on its own to create my focal point, no stamping involved. We have another happy birthday stamp and die set, which again I'll talk later in the video. Also, the background, I absolutely love this cloud stencil. For my third card, I again used the dies to build the kite, but this time I added the sentiments from the coordinating stamp set on either side of the design to balance out the layout. Moving on to some birthday themed products, we have the birthday bunting die set, which is a fun 17-piece collection that includes adorable banner designs with happy birthday cutouts. It also comes with a small star and heart die that is perfect for adding embellishments on your card fronts. Next, we have the Happy Everything stamp set, which includes 19 stamps that lets you mix and match to create a variety of playful and heartful phrases, which is perfect for all kinds of occasions. You can pair both of these to whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding, or simply want to send a thoughtful note. This set offers a charming way to express your message. Let us now take a look at the cards that I created using these sets. For the first card, I went with a very clean, simple design. I stamped the sentiment, "My heart is so," from the Happy Everything stamp set and paired it with the die cut Happy banner. I finished it off with embellishing the card front with the small heart die cuts for a very sweet touch. Now, card number two is the same card that I showed earlier with the sky's the limit focal die cut focal point. Now, here I use the die cut happy word sentiment and combine it with the birthday sentiment from the stamp set to complete this greeting. I absolutely love how beautiful this card turned out, and those colorful happy words is really pretty. For my third card, where this one is the heart-shaped hot air balloon that takes the center stage here. Now, this is again a single layer card. Here, along with the focal point, I mixed a few sentiments to create a seamless and meaningful phrase that ties the whole design together beautifully. That wraps up all the stamp sets and dies from the new release. Now let us take a look at the stencils and the embossing folders. First up is the In the Cloud stencil set. Now this is an A6 sized layering stencil that includes 4 stencils, perfect for creating soft, dreamy designs. Now the beautifully shaped cloud patterns will add magical touch to your cards and scrapbook layouts. As I mentioned earlier, you can go with the classic blues for traditional cloudy sky or experiment with fun, colorful rainbow sky. The intricate design on these stencil makes them perfect for layering and blending, giving an endlessly creative possibility. Now, each of those stencils has numbers on them, which make it a lot more easier for you to layer them. Now, one of the best thing about these Sizzix layering stencils is that how seamlessly they work with the stamp and stencil tool by Sizzix, especially when you're using these layering stencils. Now, all you have to do is simply place your card front or whatever panel that you're using onto the sticky grid sheet, and each stencil has a small alignment holes that fit perfectly onto the pegs of this tool. Now, you also get an adapter tool which makes the work a lot more easier. Now, this will ensure that every layer lines up accurately, making your stenciling process smoother, precise, and stress-free. Normally, when I use layering stencils, I rely on my sticky mats and do my best to align each layer perfectly. But the pegs on the stamp tool are truly a game changer, making the process so much more easier and more precise. Now, let me show you a few cards where I used the In the Cloud stencils to create stunning backgrounds. The first card features the large die cut balloon, which I used as the focal point. For this card, I used all 4 stencils to build a bold, dramatic sky in the background. To soften the effect a bit, I layered a sheet of vellum on top, which also helps to make the focal point stand out more. Honestly, I've used this stencil on almost every card I have shown you so far. In some cases, I have kept it simple with just a single layer of the clouds, leaving out more of those intricate details. That's one way to get creative with these layering stencils. I absolutely love how easy these stencils are to use in a line, and I will definitely be using them for all my future projects that involve creating beautiful cloudy sky backgrounds. Last but certainly not the least, we have the Posh Patterns 3D Textured Impression Embossing Folder, a versatile tool featuring four distinct designs, each crafted to bring a touch of luxurious details to your projects. Now, it's perfect for adding intricate texture and detail to small die cut pieces, or as I did in my sample card, you can use it to create stunning full card front. Now, for my card example or sample that I created, I will be stepping away from the soft sky theme projects and bring out all the drama. Now, here in my card project, I went with one of my favorite color combinations, which is pinks and oranges. Just take a look at how beautiful this card front is. Now here I used the 3D Posh Patterns embossing folder onto a white panel, and using the pinks and oranges, I added color to this. And I absolutely love the rich texture it created. With a few gold highlights, I added some glam to this cut front and finished it off with the happy birthday sentiment from the Happy Everything Sentiment stamp set. So that's a wrap on all the amazing goodies from the latest Up and Away release by Catherine Pooler in collaboration with Sizzix. I absolutely love this collection, everything from the stamp set and the coordinating dies to the beautiful standalone dies. There's also the stunning layering stencil, gorgeous 3D embossing folders that add incredible texture to your projects. And let's not forget the birthday themed die set, which includes a lovely banner that not only cuts out the shapes but also gives you the die cut letters. Absolutely versatile. Plus, the Happy Everything stamp, which is perfect for a wide range of occasions, making it a must have in your crafty collection. Now, I had such a great time creating these card projects, and I know I'll be using them all around the year. I really appreciate products that can be used across multiple occasions, not just limited to one theme or category. It's always great to get the most out of your crafty stash. And let's be honest, crafty shopping is so much fun and it's so easy to get carried away. That's why I love having versatile products like these that offer a bit of everything. Well, I hope you enjoyed watching the video and got a good look on all the new items from this release. I have linked all the products that I mentioned along with the ones that I used to make the cards, like the colors and my brushes and the other products that I used, including the die cutting machine, down in the description box below. Now, please note that all of the links that are in the description box are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. I hope you have a fabulous rest of the day. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe. Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are making a very clean and simple Mother's Day card, perfect for mass producing in a variety of different colors. It is also a single layer card design, which makes it super easy to mail out to. Now, I'll be using the Mother's Day stamp from the brand new You Are My Favorite release by Simon's Stamp. This versatile design also works beautifully for birthday cards, thank you notes, or, well, really any occasion when you need a quick, last minute, simple, and elegant card. Before we jump in, I would really appreciate if you could take a minute to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Let us first take a closer look at the stamp set that I'll be using for today's card. Now, this is the Mother's Day stamp set by Simon's Stamp. This is part of the latest You Are My Favorite release. Now, this is a 4 by 6 inch clear stamp, which features the bold Mother's Day sentiment that's large enough to stand alone as a stunning focal point. Along with that, you'll find six elegant butterfly silhouettes, perfect for adding a dramatic touch and visual interest to your card fronts. Now, this also includes a lovely mix of coordinating sentiments and sub sentiments, giving you everything you need to create a meaningful message on your cards. Phrases like on this and happy can be paired with the main sentiment, and there are other options like the best mom, wishing you the best, may you feel special, to the best grandmother, to my lovely mom, to the best stepmom, and lots more. This set truly makes it easy to create beautiful, heartfelt cards for all the amazing women in your life. For today's card, I went with a very clean and simple design and decided to use just the stamping to keep it a single layer card. I started by placing an A2 size card panel into my stamping tool and stamped the large, bold Mother's Day sentiment roughly in the center of this card panel using VersaFine Onyx black ink. I also added the small happy sentiment just above it. Once my focal point sentiment was stamped, I stamped the butterfly silhouettes in a diagonal arrangement to add some visual interest. For the butterflies, I chose a mix of pinks and purples using the Simon's Stamp positively saturated inks in the shades peony, rose, orchid, and amethyst. At first, I planned on stamping them using a very crisp and clean look. But as I began layering the pinks and purples, I decided to slightly shift the paper with each stamp. This created a bit of color overlap, giving the butterflies a unique and almost distorted effect that I ended up really loving. You'll notice that I flipped my paper upside down while stamping. This just makes it easier to work with, especially since few of the butterflies will be hanging off the edge. It also helps me better visualize where to place each of those butterflies. Of course, this totally is a personal preference. Do whatever makes you feel more comfortable. I'm really happy with how this panel turned out. A closer look at that beautiful distorted image on that butterfly pattern, it's absolutely stunning. I also love the blend of pink and purple towards the bottom of this card. It adds such a dreamy and artistic touch. Of course, you can customize it however you like. Stick to a single color, keep it monochrome, or even use different shades for each butterfly for a more playful look. Now, if you're familiar with my card making style, you'll know how much I love adding shine and sparkle and splatters to finish things off. But for those who might not feel super confident adding watercolor splatters to a finished card front, here is a simple alternative. I like to use a black gel pen to create a faux splatter effect by randomly adding small dots across the card front. There's really no right or wrong way to do this. The dots can vary in size and placement. Well, for this card, I added them in the diagonal flow, following the direction of the butterflies to keep that visual interest going. You'll notice that the dots vary in size and are randomly scattered around the butterflies and sentiment, giving it a very effortless and seamless splatter look. Now, if you want to make take it up a notch, you could also add some metallic gold watercolor splatters along with the black for an extra dimension and shine. Now, after finishing the force splatter effect, I added a bit of sparkle with some gorgeous gemstones. I used the warm toned gemstones from Simon's Stamp in the bright, beautiful pink shade. I placed three above the sentiment and three below to frame it nicely and add that perfect finishing touch to our finished card. I like to use my Barely Art glue to adhere the gemstones. It gives just the right amount of precision and hold. Here's a look at the finished card. This was such a quick and easy card to make. All it took was stamping the sentiment and the butterflies onto a white panel, simple but striking. Off camera, I also made another version using rainbow colors, and you'll see the gemstones follow the same rainbow order. I absolutely love how that one turned out. It is so vibrant and cheerful. Now, both of these cards came together in probably just under 20 minutes, which makes them perfect for quick crafting sessions. And of course, you could easily swap out the Mother's Day sentiment for a birthday message or a thank you note. I'm especially in love with the diagonal arrangement of the butterflies. It adds so much visual movement and interest to the design. I had such a great time making these and definitely plan on mass producing them in different color and well for all sorts of occasions. I hope you enjoyed watching today's video and found some inspiration along the way. You will find all the supplies that I used linked in the description box below, including everything from the latest You Are My Favorite release. Please note that all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe. Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to be sharing this video with you guys because today I'm taking part in the Simon Says Stamp You're My Favorite Release blog hop. Well, we are on day 2 of this inspiring hop, and the new release is absolutely packed with creativity from playful stamps to coordinating dies to stunning layering stencils, fun papers, and eye catching embellishments. Well, before we dive into the projects that I created, let's talk about this awesome giveaway that's happening right now. So, when you shop for $30 or more from this latest new release, you will receive a Simon's Stamp exclusive Sunny Fern emboss and cut folder, which will be automatically added to your cart. Don't forget to head over to my blog for more fun details about this hop and to see what other talented creators have created. Well, before we jump into today's card tutorial, I would be absolutely grateful if you could take a moment to subscribe to my channel and hit on the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I post a new video. For today's video, I kept things very clean and simple with two elegant birthday cards featuring the big botanical stamp set from the latest release. This stunning set includes two large floral images, a bold hyacinth, and a graceful tulip, along with a delicate butterfly and the dragon flower, all illustrated in a beautiful vintage inspired style. I always seem to need a lot of birthday cards, so I figured this was a perfect chance to create a bunch at once. I went with a very clean and simple design that's super easy to mass produce in a variety of different color combinations. While I'm making birthday cards today, this layout works beautifully with any sentiments you choose. To start with, I placed an A2 size panel in my stamping tool and chose the two large floral images from the set for my card fronts. I began with the hyacinth, positioning it towards one corner of the panel. I liked how that placement created a strong visual balance, keeping the focal point on one side and leaving space for the sentiment on the other. Because the image is quite large and extends off the edge of the panel, I flipped the stamp upside down to make it a lot more easier to stamp cleanly without any obstruction. For my floral image, I picked few lovely purples. Now, all of the inks that I'm using here are from the Simon's Stamp Positively Saturated ink line. I used violet and orchid for my flower and limelacious and perfection for the stems. I started by inking up the floral bunch using purple shades. Well, before adding any color, I masked off the stems and leaves to prevent any purple ink from getting onto those areas. You can use masking tape or, like I did here, just simple sticky notes. Now, once everything was masked and secured, I stamped the floral image using the orchid ink. If you notice any purple ink accidentally getting into the stem area, you can easily clean it up with a blending brush or even the tip of your finger. Now, after stamping with orchid, I cleaned off the stamp and re-inked it with violet, which is a gorgeous purple that leans more towards the blue shades as compared to orchid. Now, each time I stamped the floral image, I made sure to mask the stems and leaves again for a clean result. Then I repeated the same exact process for the stems and leaves, this time using beautiful greens. We have Perfection and Limelacious, again from the Simon's Stamp Positively Saturated ink line. Just a quick reminder, make sure to remove the mask after each stamping and before closing the lid of your stamping tool. Also, you will notice that whenever I add the second layer of color, be it violet for the floral bunch or Perfection for the stems and leaves, I like to soften the edges of the ink using a blending brush. This helps fade the ink slightly and create a more dimensional blended look. If you look closely, you will notice both orchid and violet on the flowers and a beautiful mix of the two shades of greens on the stems and leaves. Just look at how beautiful that hyacinth focal point turned out. I am absolutely loving the color combination on it. Now, since we are mass producing these cards, I like to work in batches. So, with the hyacinth done for card number one, I moved on to creating the focal point for card number two. This time, I used the tulip image and stamped it on the second card front, blending using soft pink and yellow shades for the flower and using the same greens for my stems and leaves. Now, I followed the same masking technique to protect the areas I didn't want to ink. I began with punch ink at the base of the flower and gently faded it out using my blending brush, then added zest to blend into the rest of the petals. Now, both of these are from the positively saturated mini ink pad collection, which are just the smaller versions of the full sized ink pads. You will also notice that I added a deeper green, which was filled along with perfection and limelacious to the stems and leaves of the tulip for an extra depth and dimension on this image. I'm absolutely in love with this color combination. This inspiration actually came from a recent trip to a tulip farm where I saw the most vibrant blooms. The ones that really caught my eyes were these stunning pinks and yellow tulips. They were so vivid and full of life, I just had to recreate them. Now, here's a side by side look at both the panels, each featuring these gorgeous floral focal point images. You can definitely create more panels using the same focal point design if you'd like to build a bigger batch. Now, once I was done stamping my floral images, it's time to move on to the sentiments. As I mentioned earlier, when I'm mass producing cards, I like to work in batches. So, after finishing my focal point, I moved on to stamping my birthday sentiments. Now, this particular set includes two layers of sentiment. One is the larger birthday sentiment, and that is paired with a smaller sub sentiment. I stamped the main birthday sentiment on each of the card front using the Simon Says Stamp Grid transparency sheet to make sure that everything is perfectly aligned and straight. I used VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp, which gives a rich, crisp black impression. You'll notice I let part of the sentiment slightly overlap the floral image. This, I think, adds a nice visual connection and helps tie the entire card front together beautifully. Off camera, I also stamped the sub sentiments for both these cards. Now, for the tulip design, I used Have the Happiest Birthday, and for the hyacinth card, I stamped Birthday Wishes to You. I really love how both these cards turned out. They are clean, simple, and so elegant. But of course, no card of mine feels complete without a little sparkle, splatter, or even bling. So I placed both the card fronts into my splatter box and masked off the sentiments using scrap pieces of those sticky notes. Then, using a paintbrush dipped in black watercolor, I gently tapped it to create some soft random splatters across each of those card fronts. I let the panels completely dry before removing the masks and mounting them onto a top folding A2 size card base. Here's a look at the finished cards. I absolutely love how these cards turned out. This was such a fun and quick project, and I can definitely see myself creating more of these in a variety of different color combinations, creating more birthday cards, or even swapping out the sentiments to build a beautiful gift set. This would be perfect for Mother's Day, for Friendship Day, thinking of you, thank you cards, or even create beautiful sympathy cards. I hope you had fun watching today's video as much as I loved creating these beautiful cards. All the supplies that I used to create these cards will be linked down in the description box below. Please note that all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I will get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Your support is always appreciated. Don't forget to check out my blog post for more details on today's blog hop, and be sure to browse the You're My Favorite Release photo gallery from Simon Stamp for even more inspiration. I will have the link for everything again in the description box below. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe. Hello crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is extra special because I'm celebrating a huge milestone. Well, 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. It's been quite a journey, and seeing this amazing community grow fills me with so much joy. I truly couldn't have reached this point without your love, support, and constant encouragement. To all of you who have been here watching my videos, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You make this experience incredibly rewarding. Your kind comments and ongoing support inspire me to keep creating and sharing what I love every single day. I'm beyond grateful for each and every one of you. For today's card, I wanted to keep things clean and simple by featuring a die cut focal point. Now, this style holds a special place in my heart as it was one of the very first techniques I used when I began my YouTube journey. I thought it would be meaningful to revisit and recreate something similar for this milestone. Here I am using the Bubble Flowers and Leaves die set from the latest You're My Favorite release by Simon Says. This die creates a bold, beautifully etched floral design surrounded by a cluster of delicate coordinating leaves. It also includes a small die for the flower center, perfect for adding depth and dimension to your floral design. In today's video, I will be showing you two different ways to use this die. One using the entire die cut along with the scattered flowers as is, and for my second card where I will be creating a floral focal point and using the leaves and tucking them beneath the flower. Let's jump into card number one. For this design, I used the full die cut as is, letting the flower and the scattered leaves take center stage as the main focal point for the card front. We will be doing a bit of die cut inlay technique where we will be carefully placing all those tiny little pieces back into their original spot for a clean and detailed look. This design also has a lot of creative potential. You could easily turn it into a shaker card by adding a piece of acetate behind the opening and filling it with shaker bits, or try backing it up with a beautiful pattern paper for an extra interest. There are so many fun ways you could use this die to create an eye-catching card front. Now, whenever I do a die cut inlay technique, I love adding dimension to give the design more depth and interest. For this card, I used some scrap pieces of white cardstock and ran the bubble flower and leaves die through my machine 5 times. Then I stacked and layered each of the die cut on top of each other to build up the dimensional effect. You'll notice that the scrap pieces aren't all the exact same size, and well, that's totally fine. As long as the die cut window aligns properly, you're good to go. Simply stack the pieces on top of each other, and once they are adhered behind your card front, you can trim off any excess edges for a clean finish. Before attaching the window piece to the card front, I decided to prep a few of the other elements first. We will start with the floral inlay. For the flower, I used a very soft purple cardstock and paired it with a beautifully textured tissue-like paper from the latest Paper Insider box number 11. Now, since the textured paper is so delicate, I used a double-sided adhesive biphasics to secure it onto my cardstock. This helped avoid any mess or show-through that might happen with liquid glue or a tape runner. For my leaves, I used a gorgeous shiny green cardstock, again from Your Paper Insider. While die cutting all the floral leaves and flowers, I also went ahead and adhered the dimensional die cut piece onto a scrap piece of purple cardstock, which will serve as the base for placing all those little inlay pieces. Once the die cut piece is securely adhered to the purple background, it's time to start inlaying all of the little die cut pieces. I began with the purple flower. Using a bit of liquid glue, I carefully placed it into the die cut space. Then I moved on to inlaying all of those little leaves. To avoid any harsh or pointy marks while pressing the pieces into place, I like to use the rounded bulb-like end of my Simon's stamp Place and Score embellishment wand. It helps smooth everything in gently and precisely. With the flower and leaves now in place, I wanted to bring a pop of color to the flower center. Since the overall tones were soft and subtle, I chose a bright pink to add contrast. I used the Simon's Stamps Positively Saturated ink in the shade Cherry, which is a vibrant pinkish red that complements the purple flower beautifully. Now that the inlaid die cut pieces are ready, I turn my attention to the card front before adhering everything together. I wanted to add a sentiment and a bit of artistic splatter for an extra interest. For the sentiment, I used the Mother's Day stamp and stamped Your love made me who I am just below this floral window. It felt like the perfect message to celebrate all of you, my amazing viewers and subscribers. Your love and support has truly shaped my journey, and I wouldn't have reached this milestone without you. Next, I placed the panel into my splatter box and lightly added a few black watercolor splatters across the background. I made sure to protect the sentiment by covering it with a scrap piece of paper while splattering. Once the panel was completely dry, it was time to assemble the card. I applied liquid glue to the back of the inlaid floral die cut piece, then carefully aligned the card front over it, making sure all the openings lined up perfectly to form a beautiful inlaid focal point window. To finish the assembly, I added some foam tape to the back of the panel and mounted it onto a top folding A2 size card base. I absolutely love the clean and simple look on this card. The dimension is striking, especially the way that the inlaid pieces sit beneath that raised window. Paired with the sentiment and the soft splatters, it all comes together to create a truly elegant design. Now moving on to card number 2. For this design, I will be using the floral die cut pieces that were left over from the scrap cardstock we used to build the dimensional window in card number 1. I ended up with 5 flowers and 5 flower centers. I stacked and layered them together to create dimension, setting aside one flower and one center. Those will be colored before being added to the top of the stack. For the flower center, I used zest, which is a vibrant yellow, and for my petals, I blended blush towards the center and punch towards the edges. I absolutely love the stunning combination of orange and pink. It's so vibrant. Once the blending was completed, I adhered the flower center, and now we have a beautiful focal point ready to be adhered onto the card front. Off camera, I stamped my sentiment, I'm thinking of you, from the Mother's Day stamp set onto an A2 size card panel and added some black watercolor splatters for a touch of texture. Then I placed the floral focal point next to my sentiment. As I mentioned in the start of the video, in card number 1, we created a scattered floral arrangement. For this card, we are using the same little leaves, but instead of adding it in a scattered way, I will be tucking them beneath the flower to form a beautiful cohesive floral focal point. Here's a look at the finished card. I am so in love with how elegant and beautiful it turned out. Just take a moment to admire all that gorgeous dimension on the focal point. Well, I adhered this panel directly onto an A2 size card base using liquid glue. And here are both of the cards that we created today. This was almost a no waste die cut tutorial where we not only used the die cut windows but also repurposed most of the die cut pieces to make two unique card designs that look completely different from each other. I truly love having dies and products like these in my collection that allow me to stretch my supplies and create something completely different from the same material. I hope you had fun watching today's video and got inspired. All the supplies that I used will be linked down in the description box below. Please note that all of these links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. I want to take a moment to thank you all once again for joining me today and for all your continued support and encouragement. It's truly because of your love and support that I have reached this incredible milestone of 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube. Thank you again for being here. Until next time, stay safe.